So, did we kick 2026 off with a bang?
He found me.
Absolutely. Primate is the newest horror film to come out of 2026, and I got to see it 3 weeks early from Irish release. It's meant to come out on the 30th of January. I got to see it on the 9th, thankfully, thank God. I've been dying to see this film, as personally, it is an extended movie and its own thing based on Gordy from Nope, the Jordan Peele film. That is some of my favorite scenes in that film, so to get a whole movie basically like that is just incredible. This is directed by Johan Roberts, I want to say as well. If I'm getting that wrong, I apologize. And it is about a chimpanzee who is taken in by this family, specifically by the mother, who is a doctor and is taught how to basically live like the family members do, exactly how to sign language, how everything works like that. However, does contract rabies and goes crazy on the family members, along with some other residents that get themselves involved with these characters. Now, Primate is definitely one of them films where do not go into this film expecting some crazy Oscar amazing film, because it's not. It's so much fun. I had so much fun with this film. Now, is it a turn your brain off film? Kind of. Is it an enjoyable one though? Absolutely. Like, everyone who's telling you that this film is enjoyable is bang on the money. This film is gory, it's gnarly, it's funny as well at points, but also just an entertaining time at the cinemas, and that's all we could have asked for out of this film. The best thing about it, this film knows what it is. It knows it's not supposed to be taken seriously, and that's the best way of going about these sort of films, and the director has absolutely nailed that on the head. Now, is the writing anything Oscar worthy? No, it's not. Some characters are stupid, the dialogue can be a bit iffy, but it's a fun time at the cinemas, and that's what we can all ask for, especially with the current state of cinemas right now, where a lot of things are getting dumped on streaming. And I'll be honest, Primate is one of those films where you'd expect to just get dumped on streaming, however has had a wide theatrical release, which I'm so happy about, because this film is best enjoyed in the cinemas like every other film of all time. To me, Primate is one of the most fun times at the cinemas, and probably will remain to be that until future films come out, because easily this has been the most surprising to me. I did feel like this film would have just been like horror slop, to be honest, and I kind of did get scared for that, but I went in with pretty low expectations and was fairly surprised with how well the suspense was actually done in this film. There is some really good scares in here, and the kills are something to note, because these are gnarly, the effects are incredible, and the special effects are actually very unnoticeable. And the best to note is the actual chimpanzee himself, because this character is actually played by a human in a suit along with some special effects. And I'll be honest, you can kind of notice that at points it's special effects, but when you actually see this chimpanzee in action, it looks incredible. It doesn't look CGI, which I was actually scared for them to do. This actually looks better, in my opinion, to how Gordy looks in Nope, which is a staple in itself. But that's what drove me into this film, because of me being such a big fan of Jordan Peele. I gotta be honest, that's what really did drive me to go and see this film. And also a big fan of Stephen King, as you can see beside me. But in general, the whole Cujo story is one of my favorites, so seeing a chimpanzee with rabies was very interesting to me. However, this film does not dwell on that. It doesn't dwell on this character getting rabies. It doesn't really show you much. It just kind of implies it. You get to see the scar, and then it goes from there. It doesn't dwell on anything. It goes straight from the start, from the very beginning to the very end. It's like a wild roller coaster ride. And that's exactly what this film needed to be. It didn't need to be this story that was heavily based on a build up to this character getting rabies, because you already get a really good setup before the character gets rabies anyway. You get like maybe like a 10-15 minute sequence beforehand until you're actually introduced to the chimpanzee, which sets up these characters kind of well. And the worst part about this film is that none of these characters are likable. Bite the dust. Like, this really surprised me. Like, this film has no holds barred. You have a lot of characters in here who are very tropey, specifically some characters here that you'd expect to probably survive, but end up dying, like it in gnarly ways as well. It's very gnarly. So this film, to me, really does emphasize that, and I really enjoyed it for that. It did have this sense of who's gonna live, who's gonna die. And another thing is, with Hollywood now, there is definitely something going around, specifically in horror, where children are no longer off limits. I think ever since Terrifier and It specifically kind of showed that, you know, this isn't a taboo thing anymore, This film also kind of goes for it in that sense, which I did not expect. But the fact of the matter is that this chimpanzee is actually a very smart antagonist, almost like Michael Myers in this case, which was so entertaining to me. It really did give me the vibes of that, along with the soundtrack that's in here and the score. The score in here really does remind you of Halloween, specifically a John Carpenter soundtrack and score, because to me, I just enjoyed that so much. Like, you have moments in here where characters are going around the house, and you have this kind of like the dings that would happen in like Halloween 1978 and stuff like that. And to me, this is so entertaining and kind of brings you back a classical era of cinema. And I gotta say, I applaud them for that. Now, there's a few negatives in here as well. Of course, like, this story is very like to the point. It's very much characters get introduced. You know, chimpanzee gets rabies, people die, some people survive, end of story. That kind of how it goes, and it's very traditional. But to me, like, what more are you supposed to do? And to me, that's fine. Like, it's not this crazy like, oh, this is a disgraceful film. No, and anyone who's given this film a lot of stick is mainly going to be the critics, I would say. This film is not for critics, it's for entertainment. Thankfully, a lot of the critics are actually pretty fine on it. It's got a very nice Rotten Tomato score. I mean, Letterboxd is a little bit harsher. I think it's sitting at like a 2.7 as the average, which is harsh to me. I think there's been a lot more worse films, especially in the last few years, from this one. And to me, this was a film that I was very worried about because it was dumped off in January. Likewise, how I'll most likely be with the Bone Temple. But I'm sure that's going to be amazing. But regardless, I did feel that this film was going to be dumped in January for a reason. It wasn't. This film was actually very, very entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend going to see it, by the way, because it's no holds barred. There's emotional depths in here. There's some very, very good acting in here as well. Some acting can be a little bit off and very tropey, but that's fine. You're going to get it in this sort of film. And I gotta be honest, if you like films that are kind of just there for the entertainment factor, horror films that are gory and very much to the entertainment standard, you will really, really enjoy Primate, because this is just a fun time in the cinemas. I would highly recommend just going to the cinema to see this, because it's the best way of seeing it. Again, some of the kills in here are just horrifying. Like, the opening scene sets the tone very, very nicely, because I'll be honest, going into this film, I knew it was gory, but I didn't know how much. I didn't know if it was going to be like a Terrifier level gore, it was kind of going to be on the tamer side of the gory films. I don't really know. And I gotta be honest, that opening scene set the tone perfectly, and I got the vibe, and I was very, very intrigued to see what was going to go happen next. Of course, there is some interesting aspects in here as well, like the dad being deaf, and that's how the sign language comes in. Had some really cool segments in there, especially when he's going around the house and you can't hear anything. Very, very nicely done sequences I really enjoyed. But ultimately, Primate is just a fun time at the cinemas. I would highly recommend going to watch it. Go and see it on the biggest screen, and also support the film. This is a very, very good thing for cinemas, that we're getting films like this that are performing as well as the box office and reviews wise. Now, in general, is this film gonna like blow your mind? No, it's just gonna be a fun time that you all deserve to have in the cinemas, especially at the start of the year, because we're starting off with a very, very strong start with this year, with, of course, Primate, then Bone Temple, and we of course have The Bride, the Frankenstein story that's coming out soon. Like, there's a very, very strong start to 2026 here, and I'm very, very excited, and I can't wait to see what reviews we have for the channel, of course, as well. So thank you all so much for the support on the channel recently. The goal is, of course, to hit 10k by the end of the year. That would be awesome. So if you could help us get there in any way, shape, or form, it would mean the world to me. And of course, again, I'm also a director, so you can check out my short films on here, my student short films. I would not recommend my first ever one. Don't put yourself through that pain. But the support on the short films I've had have been absolutely exceptional, and the progress I've made because of the feedback has just been so greatly appreciated. So thank you all so much for that. I hope you have enjoyed this little review. Go check out Primate whenever you can. I know it's in Ireland and the UK. I think it's the 30th of January release. However, Cineworld, I love you for the early screening. It was a secret screening and I got lucky, so I was very, very happy with that. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. Thank you all so much for the support, as always. If you have enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe if you love movies, because I love movies, if you can't tell. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll check you in the next one. And as always, stay safe and peace.